it please the court, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, Your Honor, we get down to the ultimate issue here. Do you find the defendant, Jamie Covington, guilty of first-degree intentional homicide? An issue that is quite grim and about as great a moral decision as one could ever be called upon to make. I've never been in the position that any of you are in. Let us, the prosecution on the side of the state of Wisconsin, reiterate some crucial points for you all to, shall we say, turn on a light to what the verdict should truly be, a guilty plea. Keep in mind, we are not only here to bring a sentence to a guilty man, but to most importantly achieve justice for Dallas Lawson, a young, kind-hearted third-year law student with a bright future ahead of him. Well, sadly, had a bright future ahead of him. We have presented to you 3 witnesses, all shown to be liable. Lane Smith, who devastatingly had to hear those gunshots that killed Lawson. The gunshots that occurred after he had seen the bathroom light turn on, allowing us to see from his testimonial that if you're going after an intruder but can clearly see that it is your roommate, then why shoot, specifically 5 times? Casey Kramer, who also heard the gunshots that night, he lived above the defendant and victim as well. Kramer has testified to having multiple one-on-one interactions with Covington due to living above them. He had heard days before the incident of an altercation between the defendant and Lawson. The yelling between the two growing increasingly loud, to the point where Mr. Kramer had clearly heard, "If it's you, I'm going to kill you," coming from the defendant. Detective Ronnie C. Cox testified in favor of our most accurate timeline of the order of events that happened the night of April 10th. He also allowed for us to see very damning inconsistencies within the defendant's affidavits after speaking to each of them. Exhibits from Detective Kopp allowed for a visual aid to the layout of the apartment and where incidents occurred that night. The opposing counsel will dispute the charges on the account of self-defense, but points that need to be addressed when discussing the opposition is the countless inconsistencies found throughout the opposing side's witnesses. Testimonials from the defendant claims he screamed, but no scream was reported to be heard, but it was from Lawson. There are also claims that the light within the bathroom was turned on post-gunshots, but according to a witness located outside, the light was turned on in the bathroom prior to. There was also no identification between who turned on the bathroom light. When finding an expert in order to testify, they are hired and paid to do so. The opposing counsel's expert also had more contact with the defendant, allowing room for bias. Throughout the witnesses, both prosecuting and defending, there can be signs of jealousy within the statements. The evidence has been presented, and we feel as though that has been apparent not only to us, but you, the jury. For myself, and each member of this prosecution team, it has been an honor to represent the victim, Dallas Lawson, as well as have a hand in stating the facts that will settle this grievance. We ask of you, the jury, to return with a verdict of guilty as charged against Jamie Covington, guilty of first-degree intentional homicide. Thank you.
Defense, you may proceed with your closing argument.
Prejudiced, misinformed, drunk, and lying. Imagine a man of these 4 characteristics approached you on the street and told you a story. He asked you to listen carefully to what he said and wanted you to believe him. The man told you a story about a young man who he said committed a crime in an act of pure hatred. After giving his story, this prejudiced, misinformed, drunk, and lying man handed you a gun and wanted you to shoot the young man. Would you do it? The man persisted that the young man was a murderer, but you knew that the man telling the story was prejudiced, misinformed, drunk, and was lying. So how could you trust this man? How could you ruin someone else's life based solely on information provided from a drunk, lying, misinformed, and prejudiced man? The prosecution presented you with 3 witnesses today in an effort to prove that Jamie Covington did not use self-defense. One witness was Ronnie C. Kopp, a police detective who arrived at the apartment shortly after the responding officers. When Kopp arrived on the scene, he was met with Officer Bug Winchester. Winchester is responsible for interviewing Lane Smith and Casey Kramer. The evidence showed that Officer Winchester had been working for several years and, according to Kopp, should be retired. Winchester is then responsible for getting the information from the interviews to Kopp, who then formulated the majority of his opinions from this information. However, the evidence showed that due to Winchester's lapse of working as a police officer, there were likely mistakes made during these interviews. Since Kopp developed his testimony from these faulty interviews, then Kopp's testimony and opinion of this case are faulty. The man was misinformed. Ronnie C. Kopp also stated that he disliked lawyers and therefore had prejudice against them. If forensic cop, just like lawyers, how can he be trusted to impartially investigate a case involving future lawyers? The man was prejudiced. Another witness that the prosecution presented to you was Lane Smith. Lane Smith testified that shortly before the accident, he was at a bar with Dallas Lawson, where he and Dallas drank many drinks. The evidence showed that Dallas Lawson had a VAC of .15, almost twice the legal driving limit. It is likely that Lane Smith also had a similar VAC, and if Lane Smith was considered too drunk to drive a vehicle, then how can he give a detailed and accurate account of something that occurred while he was drunk? The man was drunk. The last witness the prosecution presented you with was Casey Kramer. Kramer said he arrived at his home around midnight. He then described what he witnessed during the accident. However, the accident occurred about an hour and a half earlier than when Casey Kramer arrived home. This would make it impossible for Casey Kramer to witness the accident. This would mean that Casey Kramer lied in his affidavit. The man was a liar. The three witnesses presented by the prosecution represented a man who was misinformed, prejudiced, drunk, and lying. In this case, the evidence involved is almost exclusively eyewitnesses. These witnesses had very conflicting stories, which makes this case seem complicated. However, with such a case as this, you must decide who you trust. The defense presented you with three witnesses. One was Jamie Covington himself, who told you in detail what happened during the accident. Jamie's descriptions of the events is a clear indication that he used self-defense. You may be asking, how can we trust Jamie? Couldn't he be lying as well? Well, if Jamie was going to lie to make himself seem innocent, wouldn't he leave out the part about the feud between him and Dallas? Wouldn't he exclude the detail about his threat to kill the person spreading rumors about him? Jamie was clearly not lying. He was telling the whole truth. We also presented you with Barry Allen, who described a series of events to you that clearly indicate the use of self-defense. Unlike the witnesses brought forth by the prosecution, Barry Allen was not drunk, was not prejudiced, and was not misinformed. Finally, we brought forth an expert in the use of self-defense. Using her experience and evidence of the incident, Morgan Dex professionally concluded that Jamie Covington used self-defense. In order to be considered self-defense, the defendant must have believed that there was an actual or unlawful interference with his or her person. The defendant must have believed that the amount of force he says she used or threatened to use was necessary to prevent or terminate the interference, and the defendant's beliefs must have been reasonable. The evidence showed that Jamie Covington believed that he was in imminent danger. This is proven by the fact that Jamie Covington lived in a dangerous area and therefore had reasonable suspicion to believe that Dallas was an intruder. This is also proven by the fact that Dallas reached into his pocket after being commanded to stop, which made Jamie think that Dallas was reaching for a gun and was in imminent danger. It was also proven that Jamie Covington believed that the amount of force he used was necessary to prevent the threat. This is proven by the fact that Jamie Covington fired his gun until the intruder fell to the ground and the threat was eliminated. It was also proven that Jamie Covington's beliefs were reasonable. This is proven by expert Morgan Dexter, who testified that Jamie followed all proper training and acted as he should have. Jamie clearly used self-defense. Now it is up to you to determine who you trust. Are you going to believe the witnesses who are drunk, lying, misinformed, and prejudiced, or are you going to believe the expert and two witnesses who are sober, truthful, accurate, and impartial? If you are questioning the accuracy of the prosecution's witnesses, then you have a reasonable doubt and must acquit. The decision is yours. The lying drunk man has handed you the gun and has told you that Jamie did not use self-defense. Are you willing to send a man to jail for the rest of his life based on information provided by a drunk, a liar, and a misinformed and prejudiced man? Thank you.
Members of the jury, you have heard all the testimony concerning this case. It is now up to you to determine the facts. You and you alone are the judges of the facts. In just a moment, the bailiff will take you to the jury room to consider your verdict. One of the first things you will want to do is select a foreperson. It will be the foreperson's
Judge
job to
Guerrero,
sign.
can they have a rebuttal? And then you'll pick up where you just left off. Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor. Jealousy. It's something that tends to drive us at times. In the case of Jamie Covington, our defendant, it can be seen that this drove him to kill Dallas Lawson. But this is something that you ultimately decide, based on the evidence my colleagues presented to you. A lower GPA, a roommate that was seen as social and kind-hearted, while one is seen as a gunner, paranoid. Job offers that felt as though they were yours, but rumored to be given to your roommate. All of which proven through countless testimonials from our witnesses. We ask of you to see the intentions within the defendant and move to a guilty plea of first-degree intentional homicide. Thank you for your time.
It will be the foreperson's duty to sign the verdict from when you have agreed on a verdict. Whatever verdict you render must be unanimous, which means that each and every person must agree on the same verdict. You are deciding whether the defendant is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt of first-degree intentional homicide or second-degree intentional homicide, or is the defendant